2024. Administrator Chansky, call the roll.
Ball.
Present.
Jensen.
Present.
Maroney.
Present.
Scott. Zierden.
Present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Well, I am happy to see so many people in the audience. This was not what we were expecting as far as from an informational meeting, but I'm happy that it turned out this way. I think what I would like to do is invite Sandy to come up. She kind of was the catalyst that started this down this road, but honestly, I appreciate her so much because one of the things that I have said in this city is that we have to work together. Us as council, we don't have all the answers. And it takes a community sometimes to find innovative ways to get things done. And when Sandy first approached me with this idea, I was like, wow, that's absolutely something to look into. And I think that, I would love for her to kick that off and kind of, from the ground up and why we're sitting here today.
Of course, I'm going to read again.
That's okay.
Sandy Loughlin, Ranchette Drive. My purpose in speaking is to first clear up any confusion there may be as to why this sudden meeting was called, and to tell the truth in how the Landeskir building became an opportunity for Breezy Point to consider. While looking at real estate online, I came across the Landeskir building. I wondered if it might be a possible option for the new city project. I contacted Mayor Zierden to run the idea past her. After some discussion, she stated at the very least it deserved to be looked into and she would get back to me. Within hours, she contacted me to say she did some preliminary checking and a showing of the building was set for the next day. She and Councilwoman Ball would be looking at the building, and as my luck would have it, they invited me to join them. The consideration for the potential of Landeskir started literally less than 2 weeks ago. Within a week of the showing, this meeting was called and posted for all residents. So this happened very quickly, faster than I've ever seen government work. I realize there are many factors to consider before this building is a viable option. I'm positive you will hear an even greater number of perspectives from residents. Given I had the opportunity to tour the building, I would like to ask all of us to take the time to consider what it could mean for our quality of life living here. It is a one-of-a-kind, amazing building. This building has the potential to not only be our city hall, but a community family center that could quite possibly be a game changer for residents in our city, and also those in surrounding communities. Roughly 6 months out of the year, we live in snow and cold, which keeps us in our homes. For many, physical activity comes almost to a halt. Our personal interactions become much more restricted. Isolation becomes a real factor, especially for our children and seniors. While we all know the fortunate few head south in the winter, it's why they head south in the winter. It is to escape our tough weather and have the ability to enjoy more active lives. The vast majority of our residents do not and probably will not have that luxury. It's interesting that how many of the people who do leave go to inclusive communities, because those communities offer them a wide range of activities along with more social interactions, which in turn creates happier and healthier lifestyles and lives. Those inclusive communities are evidence that where we choose to live has a lot more to do with how we are able to live than it has to do with our property lines. The Landeskir building has the capability to add year-round activities, allowing for increased resident connection that our area desperately needs and sadly lacks. After seeing this building and the possibilities, my hope is that the council and residents will remain open at this time to a broader vision of what the potential of this building could mean to all of us in our daily lives. I hope that after we hear the information tonight, we will at least move forward in the fact-gathering process, and from there we can engage in meaningful and fair conversations based in facts about the Landeskir opportunity. In closing, I'd like to thank Mayor Zierden and Councilwoman Ball for being open-minded and proactive into looking at every possibility for our community. I believe actions such as theirs are the duty of our council to ensure the best decisions are made for our city and all of us who live here. Again, thank you both, and I'd like to thank the council for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Well, at first I do want to apologize because I did not have a packet to include in the agenda. Originally, when I had called this, it was supposed to be just an informational meeting. Like she had said, we moved very quickly. I sometimes move too quickly, and I know that can be a challenge, and that's why I have a good partner and good teammates up here to say, what, yes, I like vision, that's who I am, but I'm also fiscally conservative, and most people don't know that. And, just because I talk about childcare, just I talk about community center or whatever it is, doesn't mean that I'm not still being fiscally conservative. And one of the things with a community center, and I had stated this at the open forum when I ran, I said I did not support a community center that was solely based on tax dollars of Breezy Point residents. I knew that, there have been other community centers in other cities, roughly our same size, and, there's a lot of operational costs that go into that. And so that was always a factor. And so when Sandy presented this option to me, I wanted to move quickly because I knew that we were making a decision on City Hall. And one of the things, again, about City Hall was that, okay, if we're going to build or spend dollars, is there a way to do that while we're also, building for our City Hall that we can add a gym or whatever that looked like? I mean, again, it's hard to make decisions on things sometimes and still look at, okay, where are we going to be at in 15 years? Well, in 15 years, I'm still going to be playing basketball with my children, right? So there's a need. There's a need. But how do we do it in a conservative way? How do we do it so it doesn't solely fall on the tax dollars of our residents? And so the Landis Gear Building was kind of an opportunity to look at that. It truly was. And so I had asked Councilwoman Ball to come with because I knew that for a long time, she had been working with a lot of residents in our community that did support a community center. And there are a lot of residents that do. And so the balance of trying to meet the needs of not only the growing community, but the aging population and the young families that are in this city, right? There is a broad range of needs that don't just fall on one demographic of a person. So we understand the needs are there, but how can we work together and do something out of the box, right? How do we bring in private partnerships? How do we work with the school? How do we work with the result? How do we do this so the cost of things are not falling, again, solely on Breezy Point tax dollars? So when we went and looked at the building, and it's beautiful, by the way, it's beautiful. And I will tell you that the three types of, I guess you could say, who have thought about purchasing, right? Resorts have looked at it, including Breezy Point, RV park, okay, an RV park and used car dealership, right? Across the school, that's a private land, we can't control who buys that. And convention centers, right? Those are the three in the last 400 days that have looked at purchasing that building. So when we look at, that part of it, well, do we really want that type of thing across from this, from the school? Or can we look at it in more of a direction of, could this be our city center? It's 40 acres, beautiful building. And one of the other things, and again, I want to backtrack real quick. I don't have anything because these are preliminary talks. This audience was not supposed to be this big. This was just us supposed to present information to council on what we had found. But because people get ahead of themselves, people who are not in the state currently get ahead of themselves sometimes. And things are posted on social media and not given an opportunity to even give us the opportunity to present the facts. And that's why I'm super happy that this happened, because I'm so happy that I get to speak to all of you today about this, because there's so many things that this could be and so many things that we need to explore that could truly make a difference. So when we looked at it, I am somebody that, in order to do these things, you have to have preliminary conversations, right? Conversations that aren't public, right? I mean, you all know this, right? There are things that you have to talk to Pequot about, and the resort, and CRMC, and Crosslink. I mean, I've had all of these conversations, and at the end of the day, another resident came forward and said, how about a donation of the building? And I said, wow, that's a really good idea. Is there a way that we can get the building donated? I do have a real estate license, but never in a million years would I use that to benefit myself. I used it to benefit our community, which meant that I could get all the information I needed faster than anybody else could. So I did that. And they came back this morning and said, we can't do a full donation, but there's other options on the table to not pay what it's listed for. And that, I can't yet speak to that because we as a council have to really consider that. So think about the fact that we could purchase it for $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. What does that leave us when we're looking at other options to build new, much less, or remodel an addition that you could take that and get a building that would be $20 million today on 40 acres for half the price maybe? I mean, who knows where that could go? And the other part of that can use to the renovation, right? So there's that option, right? And I can't, we can't have the conversations because we don't know for sure yet, but these conversations are in place. And so that's kind of another thing that led to us having the conversation about costs, right? And operationally, what does that look like? Well, I've gone and I've looked at all of those things considered as well. Senior center, amount of grant funding support seniors is amazing. I've talked to our county commissioner, who's a chairman. They will help us in any way we can, right? There are lots of options. This building has a shelter. It has a indoor walking path, 57,000 square feet, 40 acres. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So we've gathered the information on the utilities. I've gathered the information on community center Cross Lake. I've looked at a lot of different things. I've talked to the mayor of Pequot, right? Yes, if it benefits the city of Pequot, the continued conversation would be to annex the land, right? Now think about this. It is $50,000 a year in taxes. Only $19,000 of that goes to the city of Pequot, okay? The rest of it goes to the county. So when they're looking at this on a level of Pequot residents, if they said, Pequot residents, you can have a membership for $20. Speaking of the future, we're thinking about the vision, the future of this city 15, 20 years from now. We're not talking about tomorrow. What is $19,000 to be able to give the residents of Pequot the ability to go and play basketball with their kids, or to go in an indoor playground, or to go to rent an office for their home date or home working at home, because that's really truly where we're at right now in today's society. I mean, again, the possibilities are endless, and from preliminary conversations, they are willing to do that, to give back to this community. So again, I think it comes back to, how do we think bigger without overspending, by also building partnerships? I've talked to the resort, I've talked to the school district, I've talked to neighboring communities. We have an opportunity to bring this all together and do it at a fraction of the cost that maybe we never would have been able to have in the opportunity ever in this city, while also being fiscally responsible, okay? Advertisement alone on that skating rink, $40,000 to $80,000 they get just for the advertising in their skating rink. Why wouldn't we add that to a basketball court inside of that building? Okay, there are so many ways that we can make this work as a community. What we need to do is really come together and say, how do we make it work for everybody, right? Not just one demographic, but everybody. And so I do want to open it up to other members on the council, but I wanted to give the backstory on how we came to tonight. And again, what you may see online, what you may read about. I urge you to not just look at that and take it for its face value, but truly come and participate and do something that could truly change our community. And that's truly what tonight was about. And so with that, I want to open up for council to have that discussion, to ask questions. Again, we are all preliminary, saying, you know what, let's just throw this in as an option. And that's what I would like to see done tonight. Why don't you go ahead then and tell Rebecca, Councilwoman Ball, your thoughts.
I guess when I went and looked at the building, I mean, to me, this is just another option. And it just, in the previous city council meetings when I asked for additional information about the remodel and I asked for additional information about what a community center would cost, it was so I could help myself make the best decision for the city of Breezy Point before spending $3 to $6 million on a new building or a remodel. This to me is the same thing. I don't want to be rushed to have to make a decision in 1 week because we don't want to take 2 or 3 to send this to WIDSETH to say, is this even a viable option? And I'm still not saying I know if I agree with a remodel or a new build or this building. What I'm saying is for myself, to help me be comfortable with how to make a decision, I want to explore all the potential options. And like some of the things we discussed about what people had wanted in the city or what we needed, I mean, that help sort of support looking at this as an option is that it has all the acreage. It has tons of acreage, and it's private because it's wooded. You're not going to find that a lot of places in Breezy Point where you can find 40 acres of land that could be used for the community. It has a backup generator. It has an elevator already. It already has an area that was used as a walking track that goes around the building. It has what used to be a commercial kitchen and all the commercial kitchen appliances. It has a basement, so that could function as an emergency shelter. It has the space to make a community center or to use it as a library or to use it as a basketball court or a gym, potentially. But these are things that, would take somebody like a WIDSETH, not me, to go in and look at and verify, which is why I'm not saying that this is something that I would sign off on or would be in favor of, but I'm just saying let's consider it as an option. Let's look at it. Let's take a couple of weeks to do that. If we need to have a special meeting to make a final decision on remodel, new build, this purchase of this building and potential remodel, then that's what I would be in favor of at this point. But I would love to hear what the rest of you think.
I am not in favor of this idea. I too talked to the mayor of Pequot Lakes, and he stated to me that he's willing to talk and cannot speak for the council. So for anything to happen, the land has to be annexed. And there is no guarantee that will happen, and I find it hard to believe a city council would grant that unless they were promised something. This building has been on the market for 460 days now. There's a reason for that. It was overbuilt. This area cannot support a building of that size. I don't see anybody buying it personally. It was built in 1999 when there were building codes, but no inspections. There is no sprinkler system in the building. Things of, how old is the roof, all that. This could be even more. I just personally don't see it as a viable option. I think it would be a burden on the taxpayers of this community, and I think it would take surplus dollars that the city has been saving for years because we have a streets plan. This is the first time we've had a streets plan. That's millions of dollars. We don't know how it will be financed or how many years. It's not going to all be at once. And then this council or a future council also is going to have the discussion on assessments. Right now it's 100% for the class 5 roads that are currently non-paved. Well, people talk about, okay, we want 0% or this or that, but it has to be paid for. And the city also is just going to have a continuous improvement plan. There's a lot of expenses, and we're very much in good financial shape, but the primary job of this council is infrastructure and public safety. We need to address the infrastructure of this city first. And to think that Pequot, again, would annex land and not have anything in that building for 10 years, I find hard to believe. That's my opinion. So at this point, I do not wish to go forward. I do not support moving forward with this option.
I can appreciate the out-of-box thought process on this. It is something new that I don't think, well, it has not been addressed. It's been on the market for 400 days. I don't think any of us ever discussed that. My concerns are, you said 57,000 square feet is very large, and I don't know how that's going to play into city government and all that. Love the idea of an indoor playground. I've seen that in other communities. It'd be something great to have in the community. But, you know, I got to look at it and go, it's a large building for only $4 million. That seems that price is low. Sometimes if the deal is too good to be true, it often is. And that's my reservation is, especially if they're considering reducing it or donating it, my knee-jerk reaction is, why?
I can tell you that.
It seems like they want to get rid of it. And so I have a lot of reservations with it. Like I say, I can appreciate the out-of-the-box thought process on it. There's a lot of work to go into it before we could even go down that path. And my fear is, we've seen it already, that the potential, if what we do for City Hall here, the cost will go up if we continue to delay. And we know that we need to do something. I fear that this process, this building, while it could offer a good potential, has a lot of work to get to the point of even the major consideration. You know, we talk about, you know, would Woodsuff even be able to go in there without us owning the building and do a full analysis on it? Well, what's that cost going to be? What would we be putting into it to potentially find out there are too many far negatives than positives? So at this point, I'm not in favor of continuing down that path in the fear of what is potentially wrong with the building and what remodels could be needed, what fixes are needed. You know, it's been on for 400 some days. People have looked at it. I don't know, we don't know why they didn't choose to, right? We don't know why, but they chose not to. If it seems like a too good of a deal to be true, why didn't somebody else already procure it?
Yeah.
Those are my concerns.
I can give you an answer for that. First of all, so our own resort looked at it. The problem is with the building, like the way that it was built for the specific purpose by Hunt Technologies. Okay, so when you look at any type of manufacturing company or it usually has to have that type of manufacturing floor. This doesn't, because it's all office. So they do meters, so everything is like plugged in all the time, and so it's not built in a way that you would typically see like a production company with the production floor. The other side of that is the location, and truly the difference is that we are a nonprofit. We are a deduction, okay? No RV place, no manufacturing company, no other company that's private. They're not going to reduce their cost to $1 million or $2 million to a private company because there's no benefit for them. But because of the ability to close the gap in capital gains and in depreciation for the market value, that is an incentive to them. There's a lot of corporations, especially they're a $1.7 billion company. And so this for them is not just how do we get rid of it at the lowest price? Because I guarantee you if they came in at $2 million, it would have been bought by now, right? So the difference is that we are in a unique position to at least look at the fact that, yeah, there is something in it for them. We can't say that, you know, capitalism isn't at play here, because it is. it has to be a benefit to them. And I went directly to their CFO in Philadelphia. So and I understand that there is a lot of question about certain things, but at the end of the day, there is so much on the table here and so much at stake. I don't know why I don't think it would be in the best interest to just ignore this and say, oh, let's not look at it further. Because even at the end of the day, if they, let's just say because of the tax deduction or the decrease in capital gains that they would have to pay, which is actually significant from what they originally purchased it from Hunt Technologies to where it is now, okay? I'm sure a lot of people in here do understand capital gains. It's a lot of money, okay, to pay on what they, so if you look at it again, they can't do this with anyone else but a nonprofit or a city. And so let's just say, for example, they did say, you know what, the tax deduction at this, purchase price of this building makes sense for us. It would be beneficial to do it. And we bought it, right? Let's just say we did the full facilities assessment. I've already been in contact with Woodseth. They're ready to go out there whenever we're ready, right? And they weren't going to say, hey, what's your hourly charge to walk through it? They haven't said that. At the end of the day, though, let's just say they were willing to sell it to us for $1 million or $2 million. And we did the full facilities assessment. We went through everything, and we said, you know what, at the end of the day, this isn't going to work. Well, now we own a building, right? Why wouldn't we just put it back on the market for $3 million? Now we own a piece of real estate. We've been talking about how do we diversify our investment portfolio or our revenue streams or whatever else the case may be. So if we still got this building for $1 or $2 million, why would it not still be of value to us if we didn't decide that it wasn't going to work as a community center? That's still an option.
I just think there's so much, we don't know what we don't know. So all of us are up here saying, well, we're not sure what Pequot would do. We're not sure if it would be feasible or if it would work. I'm not saying that we should buy it. I'm not. I'm saying we should look at it as an option because we're looking at spending a significant amount of money for the city, and could this be cheaper? I mean, if we're just talking numbers, could this be cheaper, but are there other additional benefits besides that the cost might be less? I don't know, and that's why I want to explore it as an option. And in the meeting today that we have, that Michael attends as well, discussing the different features for the potential remodel or the new build, they talked about having January, February, and March are time frames that you have to kind of get numbers together for locking it down before prices go up. So I don't think it's true to say that we have to make a decision in early March or the prices are going to go up an exorbitant amount. That's not what I was told today.
Well, I do think that it is the job of the council as a whole to decide and to direct staff to enter into these negotiations. It is not the job of an individual council member. It is for the council to provide direction to staff to proceed with negotiation, with Seth, whatever it is we're going to do. And again, I'm just opposed to looking at it.
I mean, this is exactly the reason we called this informational meeting, right? We didn't call it to make a decision today. We called it to say, here's an option. And there are a lot of people in this community that do want an option to bring their children or to walk around a track or to have a senior center or to play basketball or to have a workout facility, and to do that at a fraction of the cost at $300 a square foot. You're talking about a $20 million building. Okay, one thing that is needed is a sprinkler system. Yeah, it'll cost us between $250,000 and $300,000 for that sprinkler system in that building. But if we got it for half the price, then we have more money to look at for the upgrades of that. All I'm saying is that this is a viable option that should be worth exploring to give residents what we've been looking at. If we don't do this and go and just spend $4 million on a new build and not look at the potential to own something like this and to make it something in 20 years. I'll give you a story. I had a conversation today with Parks Director in Cross Lake. In 1996, the Cross Lake Community Center burnt down. Okay, it burnt down. They voted 3-2 to rebuild it. 3-2, one vote. Now you have almost 30 years later, that is a pillar in their community. Not to mention the fight for that library, okay? Contentious fight. Some people said, oh, we don't need a library. Some people said, yeah, we do. Well, guess what? Thousands use their library today. This isn't about today. This is about 20 years from now, 15 years from now, 10 years from now. And to be able to do something at a fraction of the cost, it's worth looking into. That's all this meeting was today. And I've spent hours upon hours trying to gather information and build connections and look at grants and look at every possible opportunity to make something like this work for the community. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But the point is we should at least look at it. Why wouldn't we look at it? I don't understand why there is an opposition to give people a choice. And that's where I'm at with it. I'm not saying let's do it. I'm saying let's give it a fair shot to make it something that this may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for our community. Across from the school, well, we're working on a trail that we want all the way to run, all the way to the Paul Bunyan. That trail is going to go right past that elementary school. What's to say one day that elementary school kids can't walk across the street and go to that city center? Or move that library that's in Pequot into the center and combine libraries. There's absolutely incentive for Pequot Lakes to do this, 100%. Because $19,000 is nothing to say to every resident in Pequot that you can have a membership at a community center for $20 a month. I pay $100 a month to go to a membership at Takedown. That's $1,200 a year. If somebody said to me that I would be paying $20 a month to be able to take my kids down the road, but maybe my tax went up $100 a year, what is that compared to having a gym membership? That's nothing. And again, this is just an option. And if I can't do my job and present options without being met with the resistance, then what am I doing? We need to be able to support people's ideas. It doesn't matter if it's a good idea, bad idea, it doesn't matter. I will support any residents who do come to me and say, hey, Angel, I have an idea. Let's explore it. We got to give everybody an opportunity to do that.
And I just think it's good that, again, why you all showed up today so you can hear
Yes,
about this.
yes.
And thank you, Councilman Jensen, for also coming today.
Yes.
Just, even if you're in opposition, come and voice your opinion. That's why you were elected, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's why you ran for office, is to help make decisions for the city and then make them whether you agree with them or don't, but let people know what your position is.
And I'm no joke. I mean, people may not think that I'm fiscally conservative, but I am doing everything behind the scenes that I can to make sure that something like this could happen without overtaxing, without looking at, exorbitant costs. How do we integrate advertising and rentals and room rentals and office rentals and memberships? It happens all over this state. We are not the first city to look at this. Okay, there's opposition in everything, but I'm saying let's just give it a fair shot and see where it ends up. If it doesn't end up the way that we wanted to, you know what? We said, you know what, we were gonna look at it, and it didn't work out the way that we were going to, so that's fine. But that's where I'm at with it. It needs a fair shot.
Can David clarify something for us?
Here, go ahead.
Diane Williams, Northwoods Lane. Years back on council, we had a parcel detach from the city, and as long as they met the criteria, they were free to go. We couldn't stop them. So if Landis-Gyr wanted to detach and be picked up by Breezy, that could happen. So, but there's a difference, isn't there, between annexing and detaching?
The difference is every property that's detached is detached to a township.
Oh, they can't go to
Breezy
a
and
city?
Pequot Lakes are both incorporated cities, so the cities have to let it go.
Okay.
Either way they do it. We're trying to
So-
detach from Breezy now.
Yeah. So that's the difference, is the cities, because they're incorporated cities, they have to, and even in the situations where they went into a township, the township had to accept it too.
Yeah, I don't recall all the particulars, but I know we lost a couple not even conjoined parcels.
Yep.
That we lost at one time, not even.
But yeah, all of those have been to townships, and the townships did
Yeah, I
accept
think
them.
so, yeah.
So in these situations, though, because they are incorporated cities, essentially both cities would have to agree
Okay.
to the
To do this.
detachment
But
slash
It
annexation.
sounds like Pequot might have an incentive to do it.
Yeah.
And I am 100% excited about this, and at least take a good, deep dive into studying this proposal, because it's a once in a lifetime. And I have been working for close to 30 years to get something to build a sense of community here. It's time.
I agree.
I think we all could use it. And as a senior, you spoke the truth. We're isolated. I sit there at the end of a dead-end street with no neighbors all winter long by myself. I would be there.
Thank you. So I think, again, the whole point of this meeting, and I think at the end of the day, that's one of the things about getting things done, right? Is that everyone knows if you have relationships with people, right? You bring everybody in. You bring everyone to a round table. You figure out how to solve problems, okay? What we're offering to Pequot is more than just $19,000, okay? $19,000 is nothing. If someone came to you and said, hey, we're gonna, lose $19,000 in your tax base, but guess what? All of your residents are gonna get this amenity, right? Your kids are gonna enjoy this. Your seniors are gonna enjoy this. Your opportunity to work outside of your home and rent a little office space, what is that value, right? And again, until we explore it, how are we ever gonna know what that value could have been? There is no harm in exploring this. And that's all I'm asking, is that we continue to explore it and have the conversations. And I really do, I wasn't planning on having like a forum. I know we have 20 minutes, but if someone has questions and they would like to come up and ask questions, I'm more than happy to answer where I can. So.
I am John Stanchfield. I've been up here at Breezy for a long time, actually since '64. So I've grown up here and I've lived here for the last 7 years. But I think, and I agree with Steve a lot on this, I think what you're kind of missing the point is, and I talk to a lot of people in the resort that know me, it's instead of having the attitude on what we can do here and where we can spend our money, a lot of us are convinced that, why don't we take a look at how we can save some money around here? Okay, look at our real estate tax base and what our real estate taxes have done in the last decade. I mean, I've talked to people that live right around here that said our taxes are going through the roof, and they've increased by 12 and 15% every year for 4 or 5 straight years. We put out the fire, hopefully, about a month ago on the new building. Now they're considering remodeling. But the thought of always having to come up here and put out fires on where we're going to spend our money, the next time we're going to spend our money, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It might be a great opportunity, this 57,000 square foot building. But to me, it represents a money pit. And you take a look at the country today, $33 million or $33 trillion in debt. And everywhere you look, people want to spend money, our money, printing money, that's not the answer. How about a concept of how can we save some money every year?
Okay.
Okay, but let me just finish. Where you open up your tax statement and you go, wait a minute.
We're not in control of the federal.
I'm using that as an example.
I know, but I would prefer if we kept it to the conversation of this building.
Okay, I'm using it as an example because it seems to me the philosophy that some of you have is, how can we spend our money? How can we build another building here? How can we do another town hall? How can we take, you know what, I didn't know that I was so responsible to make sure people went and played basketball or had some place to run around on a track.
Okay, that's fine, and you can have your opinion,
Right.
So I'm gonna stop you and we're gonna move on.
I'm just gonna wrap it up. Let me wrap it up, okay? Please. I want to finish. I think a lot of you misread the fact that there's a lot of conservatives in this area here that are looking at the cost of living, what we're incurring right now. You're looking at everything, no matter what you do. We all see what it costs to live right now. You go to the grocery store, you go, no matter where it is, the cost.
I understand.
Okay, and so we look at city government, in a way would be refreshing to come in and see somebody who goes, you know what? We're gonna be able to save some money here. We bought some equipment here that we got a maintenance contract on. We're not gonna have to maintain it. We're gonna save some money here. A concept of saving money and not spending money all the time. That's my only point.
Okay.
Every time
Thank
I'm
you.
up here, it's always about where we're gonna spend our money. I'd like to see where we're gonna save some money, all
Okay.
right?
Thank you.
Tom Lillahei, 7460 Fairway Lane, Breezy Point. I think we need to drop back a few yards and figure out what are we actually doing here? Who are we representing? We had several meetings many years ago about community center. Do we want to have one? It's been on our comprehensive plan for many, many, many years. It was on the comprehensive plan that was existing in 2015. And then when we rewrote the comprehensive plan in 2020, it was done with a very significant public survey. We had a 15% response on that survey. Anybody that knows anything about statistics, a 15% response is statistically significant. And that's a big buzzword that's used in the statistics. Anything that is statistically significant means you are getting a good representative of what the community wants. The community wants a community center. That is a fact. Anybody that says we do not want a community center, that's their own personal opinion. But the survey and the data that showed the Breezy Point wants a community center is a fact. And we have it in the comprehensive plan. And it's talking about, it's on page 67, where it's talking about, as part of the 2019 community survey, a strong support was evident for the idea of a public community center in the city. So a community center is a fact. I came here dead set against the Landis Gear idea, but from what you are saying, if we can get it at a cheaper price with a donation, that has been done before because we are a nonprofit. That opens up a whole different set of circumstances. We would be way better off having that property with all of its accompaniments, and yeah, it's going to cost us some to fix it up, but it is going to be serving the community. In actuality, we would actually be serving Pequot as well. So it's a double help. I'm not 100% saying I would be supporting it, but it is something we should be looking at it because the community wants a community center. That is a given. That is a fact. That's the hard fact. We did a lot of work, and I know Rebecca and Mike were at those meetings, and they got the feedback from the residents of Breezy Point. Community center was absolutely #1 on the list. It's what we wanted. So I think we would be foolish not to just look at it and to figure out what we want. So thank you.
Thank you. And that's what I came here today to discuss. It wasn't, again, it was to go through the process.
I would also say that in the comprehensive plan, the majority of residents said they wanted more services for less taxes. And that was #1. The residents I talked to, I do not believe there is unanimous enough support in this community. We are a community of 2,800. There may be another 1,500 that own lots. It's a lot of money. And we have other needs besides a community center. If we were a town of 50,000, 75,000, it's a different conversation, but we're not. And we're in a very financially healthy state, thanks to Mayor Lillahei, former councils, former Mayor Rogenkamp. We need to stay that way, figure out what the costs are gonna be of things we have to do, that is our job, and then start looking at things like this. If we could save money, I'd like to see the park expanded. There's a lot of things we could do to the park that are a lot cheaper. Cross Lake property values are what, $2.1 billion? They have a little bit more money that they can put towards things like this. And community centers operate at losses. They are subsidized by taxpayer dollars. So, again, I don't think we should move forward. And at this point, it's 2-2, so what's the next step?
Well, I think at the end of the day, though, I mean, if we got it at $1 million, I'm not saying that I am sitting up here going, this is the best option. I'm saying, why are we not looking at it as an option? A $20 million building for less than half? Please.
Get $20 million at though.
It's $300 a square foot for new build. So if you were to rebuild that.
$20 million, you're going to build that building?
No, I'm saying that it's worth that as far as in a new build perspective, right?
I understand, but you wouldn't build that.
Can you please state your name and?
I'm Jeff Helen, and I live on Airport Road.
Okay.
So you wouldn't build that building if you had $20 million. That building is a $3 million building because that's what it's for sale for. Somebody in the private sector is going to pick up that building. It's been on the day 400 markets, 400 days, but somebody's going to pick that up. They're going to bring in employees. They're going to diversify our workforce. It doesn't make any sense that you call it a $20 million building. And then you also said there's $19,000 in taxes. Mm-hmm. Is that annually?
Yes.
So this is a 20 or 30-year project, is it not?
No.
Building a new city hall is not a 20 or 30-year project? It is.
It's not.
The costs of maintaining that, the decisions you make today are the costs that
exactly. So that's why we have to look at the cost.
So that $19,000 should get multiplied by 20 or 32 because that's the tax revenue they're going to lose.
But if Pequot is willing to do that based on the numbers, then that's what we have to explore, right? The whole point is that we need to support ideas to explore.
I understand, but
that's the point.
I understand, but to take a building that's 20 years old.
Have you been inside?
Yeah, I'm actually. Yes, I have.
Okay.
But
perfect.
To take a building that's 20 years old and move it into a liability, where today it's an asset. Even if it's sitting empty, it's an asset.
So what about this building then? We're looking at a remodel and addition, right? Why would we do that in a building that we've been told should not probably be remodeled, right? Again, the point is this.
I don't have a problem with that because you could tear this down and build a new one.
But why would you want to tear it down? I mean, again, and I'm not going to argue with you about it.
Don't you have to do the due diligence to figure out what the costs are going to be?
Yes, that's why we're here today. That's exactly why I'm here today.
You're not talking about the operating costs. You're not.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
So those numbers are available.
Yeah, that's exactly why we're sitting here today. Because I'm working with Cross Lake to get all of their revenue and their operating costs. We'll go to Hallett. We will do the due diligence. That's the whole point, is that we're here today to say, let's do the due diligence to see if the numbers work.
Fair enough. And those due diligence numbers would be posted on a public.
Yes, absolutely, with public comment and everything else.
We will have comparisons between.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right.
That's a promise.
I understand.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything?
I have no additional comments at this time.
So I don't know then where we're supposed to go from here.
Unless there's as I've been very clear, unless the council gives me some direction one way or another, staff will not pursue this option until we're given a direction from the council. Our standing option is to work on it's on.
Bill Lechko, Breezy Point Drive. Can someone in 2 minutes just tell me where the city's at and why we need a new city hall to begin with?
I don't think at the end of the day, this is not part of that.
Okay, I'm
sorry. Guys, we have 10 minutes before our next meeting. Again, this was not set up to be this today. I mean, I'm sorry. We have an hour. This was not set up to be this type of meeting. I mean, it was set up to present what we have found and the potential that we have. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is not what the meeting was supposed to be.
I mean, I do. There's a lot of information on the project page on the website. You can review from when we started looking at the new city hall or remodel option. So there is a lot of information out there for you. This building is outdated. There's never been any plan to update it. So it's outdated. Now we have to put a lot of money into it. So that's what came up. The question is, how best do we fix this? They're running out of space. It's outdated. I think there's David probably could speak to it better than I can because he's been intricately involved more than me if we want to get into it, but there's.
So I would personally like to continue to do my due diligence. I don't know what that means. I mean, there's a lot on the table. There's a lot of things a lot of conversations. So if you would like me to continue to do that, or if, I will continue to do that and present what I find. But at the end of the day, I think, again, the fact that we aren't willing to look at this as an option, I don't think that we're doing the residents justice. I mean, I don't. Because Mayor Lillehei said, this has been on the radar for years. And we have an opportunity that will not come along again, and we can't even look at it. We can't even look at the numbers. We can't even look at the operating costs. We can't even look at the revenue. We can't even look at the partnerships. Why is this an issue? We're not making a decision. We're looking at options. Why are we not looking at options?
The majority of the council needs to make that decision.
I understand that.
Well, that's what needs to happen.
That is why I'm here. But the fact that, some are not open to looking at the options is truly not a fair.
I'm Scott Group. I live on Channel Heights. If you're here to vote to make a decision whether to continue or not, why did you come with 4 people? You're not going to.
We can't control if they show up or not.
Right.
Because the meeting was put together very quickly.
Right.
We were in agreement to have a workshop from 5 to 7. That is more than likely the reason that the 5th council member is not here. It was quickly put together. We agreed as a council to meet at the workshop from 5 to 7, and then this came up, and it ended up at 4 p.m.
Yeah,
so right now you're not here to vote whether you should do your due diligence or not.
I mean,
because you're calling for a vote. It's 2-2. But
yep.
You're really not voting, are you? I mean,
well,
you're
at this point, at this point, no. So I think we'll just end the meeting if no one's willing to, move forward. But again, I would not be doing my job if I wasn't presenting options, looking at other options. I mean, I don't feel that is, again, I feel like if you have an idea, present it. I don't want people to stop bringing us ideas because of fear of being shot down or yelled at or whatever it is that people do online. I've had plenty of it. So at the end of the day, I'm going to continue to do that for this community until, maybe we get somewhere and maybe we don't. But at this point, we don't need to move forward. But again, today was about me presenting the idea, and we will see where that takes us.
And to be honest, when the next city council is, I will bring it up because if we are discussing making a decision on remodel new city hall and Councilman Scott attends that meeting, I will bring it up again. He chose not to be here today. I don't know why, if it was because the meeting was putting together quickly, but we all signed up to do this job and we got elected, and sometimes meetings get called quickly.
Yeah, and we have to show up for our residents. That's what we do. That's a sacrifice that you make. It's sitting on here. It's not just coming once a month and making decisions. The amount of time that you should be spending outside of here should outweigh the time that you spend in here. That's what you do as elected leaders. You don't just show up and vote. You do stuff.
Can I say something? Can you not talk to us like we're a bunch of
I'm not talking to you.
I'm talking to you though.
You don't get to yell from the back room. You don't get to yell from the back room. I'm sorry.
I have not lived in Breezy for very long, and maybe 5 years. And there just seems to be a lot of, or what I'm seeing, what the city council wants to do. I never got notice or anything when the whole discussion of taking the $4 million and building a center. We were never notified. And then I hear, well, it's on Facebook. What about us that don't have Facebook? Well, it's on social media or another place. What if we don't have the internet? There's a lot of people in this town that don't.
And we've implemented this year, we're going to be sending out newsletters, quarterly newsletters too.
I have never received a newsletter.
This year, so one of the things is coming into this last year, we didn't have.
You're saying this year, 2024?
Yes.
Okay, so then everything that you have discussed about the city building should have been put on the table or tabled until everyone was properly notified. And then I did read in a letter that a friend sent me, and it did say that taxes would not go up. Well, can you explain the taxes that went up the last
So today's meeting, I know, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you
I
off.
want you to explain to me the taxes that have gone up.
I'm
the last
sorry,
several
we've had
years.
other meetings and other open houses and everything that have explained this
I was
process.
never notified.
Okay, and I'm sorry that you were not notified, but I'm just letting you know that that is not related to what we're talking about today, and we're happy to.
That's exactly what we're talking about today. If you are not notifying the residents of Breezy Point, you're not doing your job.
Okay, and I'm sorry.
And I would like to request a copy of the bylaws and the article of declarations from the city of Breezy Point.
All right, thank you.
You haven't even asked my name yet.
Honestly,
But how are you going to get it to me?
please state your name and address. That's.
I will give it to David.
Thank you.
And I expect this, or I could come tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, and
Okay.
pick him up.
Thank you.
One thing I would like to say to you, if you do have time, the workshop, one of the topics is communication. I requested it be on there, but how do we communicate with residents? How do we get the message to residents?
We have the good old mail post office.
And we're working on that, but I'd like your input. I think,
I would be happy to come and tell you how you can, there's nothing wrong with going door to door. There is nothing wrong going out and talking to the people of what they want for this community. Not the board, but what they want.
Okay.
What they think we need.
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
All right, we will go ahead and adjourn. We have to adjourn. No, we're going to adjourn. No.
Question for you,
Okay.
specific.
You guys are gonna be here from 5 to 7, just
I know.
for longer.
This is Jeff Johnson.
This is not what-
Wildwood neighborhood. Now, I haven't heard anything from any people on the impact of what it's gonna cost to even maintain and take care of this.
That's why we are here tonight.
I understand, but you can't grow a business that fast. We can't find people to work the way it is now. You're gonna need 2 people to maintain that whole outside, and you're $19,000 for $20 a month? Are you out of your mind? The labor just to have someone staff
listen,
that is
I'm not taking any
Well, why
more
are you
comments.
sticking this
I'm
down
not,
our
because this
throat?
is not,
It's you.
that's fine.
You are sticking
I'm
this
sorry,
down our
I'm
throat.
going to adjourn the meeting. All right, thank you guys all for coming and listening to the information. Okay, I'm sorry you feel that way. Thank you all seriously for coming. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.